congratulations. Incredible season, SEC Coach of the Year. Come on, put your hands together for that. That is not an easy feat. Hey, I know you got an early practice, so we're going to jump literally right into it. I mentioned it to you at the door. We have a couple of mutual friends. Ren Aaron, who is in the room, the unofficial mayor of my world back there in the back. I know he's a good friend.
Pastor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pastor Lane Schrantz is another good friend of ours. Fast Lane, don't ever get in the car with him. And we actually met at the Motion Conference several years ago. You had brought some of your team in. So I know how important, even beyond X's and O's, how important legacy, character, faith is to you. What do those words mean for you?
Well, first of all, good morning, everybody, and it's so good to be with you guys and give a little time to the Lord, and it's just a great way to start the day. Let me ask you a question. How can you explain this? In the last 8 years, we've had 5 different teams at Auburn win either an SEC tournament or an SEC championship. How can you explain that? It has a little to do with the coaches, it has a little to do with the players, it has a little to do with our fan base, it has a little to do with a lot of things, but it has everything to do with the Lord.
Yep.
You cannot explain it other than God has blessed us beyond what we deserve to give us a platform to do things that are way more important than winning or losing basketball games. I'm not just saying that, I believe that to my core. And so therefore it forces me to lead accordingly, like with everything else that we do. And so the whole legacy part, it's hard to talk about legacy when we play tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like we're going to play tomorrow.
Tomorrow's another brick in that legacy.
Oh man, we're focused on what we got, you know, tomorrow and maybe the day after and so on and so forth. You know, but it needs to be more, you know, it needs to be more than just basketball. Again, people are always looking, you know, what's the secret sauce? How do you tie things together? There's a connection between the fact that we've had 43 student athletes in 11 years graduate, including 34 African-American men graduate from Auburn University. The connection between the discipline that it takes to do what you got to do to get your degree, which is most of them don't come there starting saying, hey, I'm here to get my degree. They come there wanting to go to the NBA or play professionally or whatever, and then while they're there, you're working on them.
While they're there, they get developed.
Oh, yeah.
In every aspect on a holistic level. And, you know, we mentioned building blocks. One of the things that I have heard in a lot of your interviews is how important faith and character is to you. Talk to me about the beginning. When did that take hold of your life? When did you realize, man, my faith, my character, my legacy is so important. I want it to be at the foundation of who I am.
I'll tell you what, this was just for me. And not everybody is as lucky to have a foundation as some of us are, in the sense that you had a grandfather or a grandmother or somebody in your family, somebody in your world. You had a pastor, you had a teacher, you had a friend, you had a coach. There was somebody there that introduced you to that faith. That was what, at least that's what happened to me. My grandfather, who emigrated to this country when he was 11 years old.
Wow.
He brought his 3 younger siblings with him, including a 1.5-year-old baby, my Uncle Harold, and came to this country in 1929, escaping the Pilgrims from Turnipole. His parents didn't have the money to send the whole family over, so the children came, and they stayed, and they did not survive the Holocaust. And my grandfather became a citizen of this country when he was 32 years old. He said it was the greatest day in his life. My grandfather was a plumber, and he you know, when you get fingerprinted, you know, you can see the grease, or you can see the black in your print. My grandfather's hands, you could see his fingerprints all the time, but he could take soap and water and a steel brush and try to wash his hands, and it wouldn't be black, the water would be clean. He had so much pipe grease and things like that. That was just the color now of his skin. So he was just a worker. But then when I became old enough where I didn't realize, he went and prayed. He started every day in temple. He started every day rapping tefillin. He started every day giving his time to the Lord. And I just grew up wanting to be like him. Does that make any sense? I just grew up wanting to be like, just wanting to be like him. And then in the Jewish faith, you really can't do certain things until you become 13, until you're bar mitzvah. And my whole thing growing up was, man, I can hardly wait to get to be 13, because then when I'm 13, I can go to synagogue and I can wrap tefillin with my grandfather.
Wow. You had a hero.
I had a hero.
You had an
I
example.
had a hero.
You had somebody to look at and go, I want to be like that.
Yeah, and they kept the house kosher. They did certain things, but you almost would never know it, because
Right.
it was just part of their fabric. It was just part of who they, and that's how I got exposed to it.
I love that story. I had a grandfather like that. He was an iron worker in Birmingham, Alabama, had those same hands, could not get them
Right.
clean. I learned how to work from him. So I'm going to fast forward a few years. I heard a story yesterday about you that I did not know, involving vending machines. Have you owned vending machines, stocked vending machines?
No.
No?
No, when I got, I don't know, how many of y'all from Tennessee? All right, y'all from Tennessee. Do you remember a few years ago when I was coaching on the Vols and I got put on sabbatical? Do you remember that?
That's a great word, Coach.
That's a great word. Yeah. And so, not everybody's capable of losing an $11 million contract and be able to take care of your family, as I was, right?
Blessed.
Yeah. But I had to take care of my family. So what did I do? I went to work. I started putting stuff. Actually, what the story is, I worked for the H.T. Hackney Company. A gentleman named Bill Sanson. Some of you may have known Mr. Sanson here in the state. Phenomenal guy. And we put stuff in convenience stores.
I love that. You know why I love that?
And
that's
because I
work ethic.
had to take care of my family.
You got to take care of your family. You also got to get up with purpose. You got to get up with something that when the alarm clock goes off, you're going, I got up today for a reason. And I love that strain, that thread that we're beginning to see in your life about how you learned how to work. You learned how important character was, how important a foundation was as a child, had an example. Then even through the ups and downs of seasons, you've still maintained that I have character, I have faith. It's at the foundation of who I am. So
I would say something about that. People ask me all the time about young people. They ask all the time about young people. Have young people changed? And the answer is not really. Young people still want to be coached. They still want to be held accountable. They still want you to see something in them they don't see in themselves. They want you to help them realize their dream. They want to be pushed. I think one of the things that's changed is parents have changed in a lot of ways, because parents they want to solve everything for them. They want to fix everything for them, and they're not willing to let them fail. And so if your kid's not batting fourth and he's not pitching and he's not starting, you're going to put him on a different travel ball team. The problem is he's 9. He's 9. And you just see that. You sort of see that all the time. So for us, one of our things is let's just go about our day every day, try to do the best we can to do things that God would have us do. What would he bless? And what are some of the things that you're going to do during the course of your day that really he's not going to he wants you to be late for class. My bad. I didn't read that.
I haven't read that part.
Haven't read that.
I didn't know laziness was in there as a good character trait.
No, it's not. But when they start to understand and they start to know God and they start to walk through this life not by themselves,
right,
but with a Father that is constantly reaching out to them and trying to help them understand that you can live in this relationship with me while you're here, and we're going to do amazing things together. I feel so badly for the kids that don't have that. How difficult challenges can really be without that faith. So they can handle, how about these young kids, the thrills of victory, but the incredible agonies of defeat and the pressure that are on a lot of the student athletes that we face, because they want all that.
So let me hit on this just because you just mentioned it. You yourself have had incredible moments of triumph. I'm going to keep talking, let you get some coffee in you. We've had some incredible moments of triumph. You also have had some moments of defeat, some moments in the valley. Looking back, is there a moment, is there a story, is there something where you can go, in this moment when I was at a low point, man, my character, my faith really, really was pivotal for me?
Well, I think one of the things about being in the valley, or making mistakes. Like, I got fired at Tennessee, and I made some mistakes that cost me and my coaching staff and their families their jobs. You talk about, being in the valley and being embarrassed. Also, being Jewish and being out there in my faith with all the anti-Semitism that's out there. All I did was add to that stereotype. All I did was add to what people would want to say about that. You know, and so you talk about a letdown, a huge letdown. And truly, during the course of the time between when I was at Tennessee and when I went to Auburn, I felt God's grace. I felt His forgiveness. He held me accountable. I owned up to my mistakes, but that was a process to work through. And then, you know, there have been times when we've been, you know, even our early days at Auburn, we had some tough challenges at Auburn. I had a president that actually wanted to fire me when I was at Auburn. And I remember Coach Pruitt's wife and my wife and some of Coach Pruitt's mom and some other people, Sherry, I remember them walking around Neville Arena praying.
Wow.
And I remember the president saying, you know what? If you don't do this by 5 o'clock, you're gonna be gone. And quite frankly, I don't care whether you do this at 5 o'clock or not. Well, you know where I was at 5 o'clock? At practice. And you know where our families were? They were walking around Neville Arena, protecting us. Well, guess what? I'm still here. Thank you, Jesus. You didn't think you were gonna get that at 7:30 this morning, did you?
Hey, I'm glad I talked long enough for you to get some coffee in you. You're starting to wake up. I like it. All right, so now we've talked about the beginning, the foundation. We've talked about some seasons where the Lord really stepped in, your faith, your character really kind of carried you through a moment. So now let's talk about where we're headed.
Yeah.
What do you hope? I'm gonna use the legacy word. What do you hope when people think about BP? Coach, mentor, leader, all the things. Father figure for a lot of these young men.
Right.
What do you hope they're thinking of 10 years down the road when they think of your name?
Well, I think one of the things that I would watch out for, I would caution everybody, is you know, you really don't know anybody till you really know them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have a tendency to judge from a distance because of something that we've read or something that we've seen or what somebody else, you know, said, or you know, you watch me going nuts on the sidelines, and I've been a competitor in this league for a long time, and I would just caution all of us to don't make those judgments about that character till you have an opportunity to maybe know somebody. And that's why getting to know people is so really important. You know, I think the legacy part of the thing would be, you know, what do we leave? You know, what's left when you're done? You know, like what a difference could you make in the kids and their families and how they, again, at this time in coaching, like what you guys are all here to do regarding what the Nation of Coaches is all about is these kids have inquiring minds and they really want to know. And they're in an incredible time right now where when they're in college, they're having about as much fun as you could possibly have, but it's like being at Disney World for 4 years. You know, that's what it's like. And all of a sudden, they're going to be leaving Disney World at some point when their eligibility's up, and they're going to get out into this real world. And it's going to get real for them in a hurry. And so how do we help them make that transition? Well, you got to make that transition by having their degree. Obviously, as a student athlete now, having some opportunity to have worked a little bit and now have some resources. I don't want my guys working at Subway. I'd like them to own 3 of them, right? If they possibly can. That's the American dream. That's how we all have worked and fought, so on and so forth. And are they equipped? You know, are they equipped to be able to handle, you know, what obviously they're, and then probably the most important thing is, like, I wish there were more places like Auburn in this world where we weren't afraid to stay institutionally neutral, where we can actually pray before our meals, where we can sing God Bless America before every game and stand at the national anthem and stand at the right way and honor our country while we're still trying to fix the world, so on and so forth. But the legacy has to be, how are we teaching our children? The young people, what are we teaching them? That's the whole deal. Because here's the deal. And here, I tell my guys, you don't go out there and save the world. You don't need to go out there and save the world. Save your family. That's right. Start right there with your family, with the woman that you decide to spend the rest of your life with, and your children, and the people closest to you, because you can have an impact on that right there. And then maybe you can bring that into the workplace. And maybe you can then bring that into the community. And then maybe, and it's got a chance to grow, but it starts at home first. And and you know what? We're putting kids out there, like from Auburn, that have an understanding. They do. They have an understanding of that. I want to be an Auburn man. I want to be an Auburn woman. What does that mean? How do I need to behave? How do I need to treat people? You know, what do I need to do? And the Nation of Coaches is equipping our students to be able to do that, you know, with the Lord. And so you think about, like kind of what's more important than that? When you stop and think about all the things that we do and all the things that we support, all the things that we give to, I don't know, what's more important than trying to teach our kids how to be a man and have a relationship with the Lord? I don't know. It's got to be at the top of our list.
I love that. I am lucky enough to have 3 daughters, no sons, 3 daughters.
Be 3 expensive weddings, I can tell you right now.
I am aware. 13, 10, and 8. And me and my wife, been married 18 years. We're already beginning to lay some of that foundational work of, hey, this is what matters. This is what it means to be a more. I want you to hear, I love you, you're beautiful, way before any guy could ever tell you that. Because raising children, raising young women, young men to stand in this world confidently, it's a task. It's a fight. So here's another question I have for you. For the business owner, booster, partner of Nations of Coaches sitting in the room today, how do they start this? If they've heard you today and they thought, man, I need to start putting some foundational blocks in my family. I need to start putting some foundational blocks in my business, my organization, my team that I'm the assistant coach of the 9th grade AU ball. What are some things that they could do walking out of here?
Yeah, bottom line is, you know, you want to judge me and you're going to judge me? Judge me by the company that I keep. Don't always judge me by the players I recruit, because I don't know that I want to be judged completely by Chad Baker Mazara all the time. I don't.
But listen, when they found out I was
because here's the
interviewing
deal,
you,
we're
I
not
got so many people going, hey, ask him about him.
No,
ask him about him.
He's got great passion. And
He does.
and we're working on it.
Hey, harness it.
We're working on it.
He's a powerful man.
But judge me by the company I keep and the men and women and people I surround myself with. Who are you hiring? Who are you going to work with every day? You've got to make some choices on that. And sometimes you got a guy that could get you this player. You could get this guy, and this guy's going to bring this player. But if this guy's not necessarily going to represent you the way you want to be represented with how he lives his life, hire a really good father, hire a really good teacher.
Wow.
Hire somebody that has the character or wants to have the character, one way or the other, is working on it. If you don't, then you run the risk that he represents you and then not representing you the way you want to be represented, and it's your fault. So you start with just surrounding yourself with those kind of people. And then from a standpoint of what y'all can do is help us, if you can, through Nation of Coaches, be able to bring a pastor like I've got Jeremy Napier every day. Where's my pastor, Jeremy Napier? There's Jeremy right there. Give Jeremy a little bit of a hand. That's Auburn basketball's team pastor. And his job, a couple things. His job obviously is to mentor me and my coaching staff and our players. But one of the things that I asked Jeremy to do, which was going to be different than I think, not part of his job description, is if you want to be just my team pastor and just focus on us, then you're going to miss about half of what I want you to do. I want you to spend at least half your time ministering to others in the community, others in the church, others. You've got the time, you've got the talent. It's not just about us. So about half the time Jeremy is working in the Auburn community and bringing my players and our staff along, doing things that God would have us do to support others. And so that's how much would you like to be responsible for having somebody like that in your favorite program?
Yeah.
With your local program. And say, you know what, I got this. Me and my family, me and a couple of my friends, not just me, but I'm going to get together with 4 or 5 guys, and together we're going to go ahead and make sure that you've got a pastor that's going to pastor you and your team. And let them do the work.
Let them do the work.
Let them do the work.
Which is what your men are doing in this tournament and this season. I just want to honor you, one, for taking time out of what is a busy day for you. I know you're about to head out of here really quick to head to practice, but I also want to honor you, BP, because something that I have seen from you through the years and even in front of this room, where you probably know a good bit, but may not everybody, your humility and confidence is something that I admire, something that I'm actually going to walk away with today. So can you guys put your hands together one more time for BP? We're so glad to have you. We wish you all the best in the tournament.
Thank you. Appreciate it.